Okay, so I am back with another recap. Netflix series, Season 1, Episode 1, Lupin. Lupin, I'm not... Lord, forgive me, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I know I'm going to butcher some names, but we're just going to go ahead and get into this. If you think it's difficult to do a recap and try to remember stuff when taking notes for a show in English, wait until you have to take notes for a show with subtitles. It's a lot. It's a lot. But, okay. So, the show opens with a man who we come to know as Arsène. He's arriving at work. He works at the Louvre as a janitor. Now, obviously, I believe everybody knows the Louvre. It's the museum in Paris. I've actually been there. I actually saw Miss Mona Lisa. It was a whole line. It was a situation, but it was worth it. But he is a janitor there. And so you kind of see him come in. He goes through the whole security process, and he starts his shift. And so while they were cleaning, he saw this necklace they refer to as the Queen's necklace. So he had his eye on this necklace. It's a beautiful necklace. And one of his coworkers, I think he was talking to one of his coworkers, and one of his coworkers was like, "Oh, well, that necklace is going to be auctioned off, what, next week or in a few days or something to that effect, for 200 million euros." And so you can see him kind of eyeing this necklace, and you saw like the camera kind of adjust to like zoom in a little bit to see like what are they doing, what are they talking about. But that was that. So Arsène is now at lunch with Claire. I don't know if Claire is his ex-wife. I don't know if his ex-boo, whatever the case may be. But, they started talking, and he's, in his little rags or whatever. He's not rags, but his, street clothes. And she's asking him how he's doing, and, he's kind of looking at, like, he doesn't look like he's, all that happy or whatever the situation is. And he tells her that he got a job, and she was excited, and she was happy for him. And they talked a little bit more, and he asked if he could come by to see their son, Raoul, I think his name is. Raoul, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Looks like I'm pronouncing it wrong. But forgive me, like I said. And he started saying how he's not been the ideal father, and she's saying that, he's tired of being disappointed. But, in the end, she told him he can come by on Saturday around 8 o'clock. And so, just as he was about to leave, he put, like, some money up on the table. And she gave him the money back and basically told him to use that money to buy his son a gift. And so, how he managed to do this, I don't know. But as she was walking away, she had, left her out of the restaurant. You can see her walking away. And then she reached in her pocket, and she had like a roll of money in one pocket, and he like a lollipop in the other. So that was kind of fun. That was kind of cute. And so she kind of turned and kind of smiled at him, and obviously she was happy about that. So next, you see Arsène visits these thugs, these gangsters. He clearly owes them money. He doesn't have their money. They're about to throw him off the balcony. He's like, I don't know, 15 stories high. He was up there. And then he talks to them about how he works at the Louvre and how he's concocted this plan where they can steal this necklace. And so basically, they'll have more money than they know what to do with, basically. And of course, initially they're like, okay, they're not trying to buy that. So initially they was going to go ahead and toss him off the balcony. And then they relented, and he talked to them for a little bit, and he had the whole layout and the whole process of security, and they assigned the getaway driver, which is it seemed like the youngest guy in their little entourage. Is supposed to be the getaway driver, and he's talking about he would get them in as janitors, and then the whole issue of chloroform came up, and the security guard that's in the room with the surveillance. For some odd reason, he's in there by himself. Like some of this stuff is unrealistic. I can't imagine a museum like this. This is a huge museum, And it has different sections. So I can't imagine that a museum like that would, one, only have one security room, and two, would only have one security guard. And then the door is left open. He was saying how the security guard's always asleep. Okay. Anywho, so they got that all set. And then there's a flashback of Arsène with his dad. And they're kind of walking in the park and talking, and seemed like they, had a pretty good relationship. He's a young guy at this point. And as they were walking, I guess home, it started raining, and then, this woman, she was having car trouble, so he knocked on the window, the dad knocked on the window, and of course, initially, she was like, oh, no, I'm good. I mean, I would have been too, for real. And then he introduced himself. I think he introduced himself as Bakar. Again, forgive me, Lord, help me. Okay, I'm not going to keep saying it. I already said I'm going to probably butcher some names. But anywho, and he introduced himself and said that he was just hired by her husband as their new driver. And so he offered to her sister. So Arsène got in the back seat while his dad, she popped the hood, and her father was under the hood working. And so while the dad was working on the car, she started asking him about, I guess, where their family from, where they were from, and they're from Senegal. His family's from Senegal. And then she asked him about his mother, and you can see he got sad, so obviously his mom has passed on. And, eventually the dad tells the woman to start the car and to try again, and so forth. It started, and he knocked on the window and just basically said he would drive. I guess, that's his job. And so, and she really, seemed like she liked him, and, she even thought that the dad was a gentleman. And so, you can see Arsène's like, oh, a gentleman. Like, he was kind of like, see his mind working, about that. And so, it's auction night. Arsène arrives, suited down, in his tailor suit. He looked nice. And so, of course, people started arriving, and, they're all filing in and, going to their chairs or whatever the case. So there's a lot of flashing back and forth things going on, okay, at this point. So the guys arrived, they get through security. Somehow he was able to get each of them badges, because you have to badge in, and your photo pops up on the scanner. So somehow he was able to get that. They didn't explain how he was able to make that happen. They was able to get their, the bags and pick up their bucks and the spray bottle and the whole thing, and they were able to get through security. Back at, on the auction floor, you had the guy kind of giving some of the history, how the necklace originally belonged to Marie Antoinette, and then Napoleon got it and gave it to his wife Josephine, and then it went to the Pellegrinis, I believe that's how you pronounce their name, which is the family that Arsène's father worked for, he drove for. And we flash back, and you see the father, they're right, he's driving the Mr. and Mrs. Pellegrini. They arrive home, it's raining, and as Mr. Pellegrini was helping his wife out of the car, she was actually wearing that necklace. And for some reason, they made it a point to focus on that. So now we're back at the auction, and they're talking about the Pellegrini family, and how Juliette Pellegrini, their daughter, is there to, I guess, present the necklace for auction, because she's actually wearing the necklace. And so it was a whole thing to have her come out, and they applauded in the whole situation. And he, remembers her, because, of course, his dad worked there. Okay, so, she makes her entrance, and of course he's watching her, and then he has another flashback. So they have an indoor pool, and she was lounging by the pool, and he walked in, and he told her that, they told him it was okay for him to have a swim. And so they started talking, and she's kind of flirting with him. He's kind of awkward, and, at that stage. And then she made a comment about, is it true about black people, or something to that effect. And he kind of looked at her like, what are you talking about? And she was like, oh, that black people can't swim. And she, I guess, told him that if he swam across, that she would give him a kiss. So what do you think he did? He went on and swam across. Back at the auction, Juliet is now at the podium, and she's talking about, how, selling this necklace is going to allow her to set up a foundation that, for the Juliet Pellegrini Foundation, that will aid in, I guess, the arts, or something to that effect. And so, of course, he's watching her. He can't take his eyes off her. Okay. The guys are now in the locker room. They have the overalls on, and now they started making all of this noise, this banging noise, because they knew that security would come in to investigate. So security came in, was like, "Okay, is everything okay?" And so the guy, the younger guy, he ends up spraying them in the face. I don't know if that was supposed to be chloroform or what that was supposed to be. It looked like Windex, and he sprayed them, and it annoyed them more than it had any other effect on them. And so the other two guys end up beating the security guards up, and they really didn't have a problem taking the security guards out. Okay, so back on the auction floor, there's this bidding war, and I didn't know that they did this, but how would I? I mean, I don't have millions of dollars. I'm not going to auctions, but. Son placed his bet. He bet his bid for $33 million, and so I guess because they had never seen him before, they'd already had his profile pulled up and saying that he was worth 500. So he had already had a fake profile set up saying he was worth 570 million euros. So they're like, oh, okay, so he can afford this, and so they continued on. And so he has another flashback. Mr. Pellegrini was on the phone. He was clearly upset. Something went awry, and he was not in the best mood. And so Son's father was in their library or his office or something to that effect, and he was looking at the bookshelf, looking at the books. And so Mr. Pellegrini walked in and basically said, "Oh, well, just make yourself at home. Like, I'm not paying you to read." And so Mrs. Pellegrini came in and apologized for her husband's rudeness and basically told him that he could pick out a book, any book that he wanted. And he picked out a book, and she was fine with that. But I'm like, okay, oh, never mind. I'm gonna go. Let's keep it moving. Anywho, okay, so back at the auction, you see the security guard. He's in the security room with the damn door wide open. Of course, I can't imagine that would ever happen. And he's in there rolling a joint while watching some sporting event on one of these little portable, whatever. I don't know if that was a cell phone or what, but he wasn't paying attention to the camera. So the little guy who tried to spray the security guards, he tried to spray the guard in the surveillance room, and nothing came out. So he ends up knocking him out with a trash can. And then he eventually figured out how to disable the cameras. So he's done that. So now he has to hit his other mark. So the son is now he already placed a bid, and then he felt it was an older guy up in the front. Who, it seemed like it was like between them, they were going back and forth a little bit. And so Asante already placed a bid, and then he placed a bid for $60 million. And so the auction guy was like, well, you just placed a bid. And he said, I know, but the other guy's moving too slow. And so they all kind of laughed a little bit. And then the guy was like, you know what, never mind, I'm done. So eventually he ends up winning the bid. So by this time, the other two guys have already changed clothes. They took the security guard suits, so they're kind of waiting in the wing for the next move. So the other guy, after he disabled the cameras, he was supposed to go and get the car so that he could be at the proper entrance when they can make their getaway. So Arsène is now and the auctioneer is walking in the back, and they have the necklace in a secure case, so no one can just grab it. It's like a secure case with a security code. And so they talked a little bit, and the guy made some comment. I wouldn't picture someone like you buying something like this or something to that effect. And Arsène was like, well, what do you mean, someone like me? And the guy was like, oh, I mean, someone so young. Did he mean that? Who the hell? Anywho. And so he told him that Mrs. Pellegrini wanted to meet with him. And he's like, no, I don't want to meet with her. I guess he figured if he met with her, that she would recognize him. But he did say he wanted to see the necklace. And so they, did security code, brought the necklace out, and they actually gave him some gloves to handle the necklace. And so at this point, he has another flashback. So now his father is now at the Pellegrini's house. There are police everywhere. And Mr. Pellegrini is accusing him, the father, of stealing the necklace. And he's saying that, well, he was over here, and he was like, yeah, I was looking at the books, and basically, he had the police lock him up for stealing the necklace. And it was an emotional scene. It was a hot mess. Mrs. Pellegrini was standing off to the side and looking at her like it was a mess. The next thing you see the guy. He's in the car, and the car is running, and the police come knock on the window, and he's like he about to ish him like the shit himself. And basically, the police officer basically told him, if you're waiting for someone, you need to turn the car off. You need to care more about the environment. And so he's like, oh, okay, sure. So he ends up turning the car off, and the cop walked on. So at this point, Hasan is holding the necklace, and this is the guy. The guys are still posing as security. They attack Hasan, and the guy was a whole thing. But this one of the guys was like way into it. He had attacked Hasan all aggressively. I mean, he had to make it look real. And eventually Hasan ended up falling to the ground, and he ends up dropping the necklace, and his necklace slid across the floor. They end up tying him and the other guys up and making a run for it. At this point, the alarm's going off, and everybody's panicked because there's still people in the museum. So the alarm's going off, people are panicked, people start running, a couple of people get trampled. It was a hot mess. And so they made it all the way out, they made it to the car, he sped away, and then you see him crash into something, and then there's another flashback of Hasan visiting his dad in jail, and while he was sitting waiting for them to bring him out, they went to his cell and he hung himself. And so they buried him, and Mrs. Pellegrini, walked up, because it was just Hasan there. His mom was there. They don't have any other family. And so Mrs. Pellegrini basically, apologized, and basically told him that if there was ever anything that he needed, and, he thanked her and told her that was very kind of her. And then he told her to go fuck herself. So, I guess I can say that. This channel isn't monetized, so I don't have to worry about demonetization. But and so he walked away, and she could tell in her face that she knew. Like, okay. Anywho, so now we flash to the museum. The guys, they are all, security got them all on the ground and tussling, trying to get the handcuffs on them. The police are already there to investigate. The captain is asking, Hasan is there, they're asking him questions. And then the phone rang, and it was one of the officers basically saying that they have the guys in custody, and he asked them if they have the necklace. They did, but he said we need to take the necklace in to have it tested. And, of course, Hasan was happy, and the auction guy was happy that they still had the necklace. And he basically told him that he could go. So Hasan started walking away. But you can see that the officer was kind of giving him the side eye, like, there's something about him that's not right. And so he called him, he turned around, and he went over, and he checked his pockets. And he found an ink pen that said Louvre. He was like, it's just a souvenir. That's all he found on him. And so he walked away. Like, okay, he didn't have anything on him, but you can see the police officer, his mind is working like, okay, something's not right here. But, that was a hot mess. They didn't get anywhere from the, he actually crashed into the museum. Oh my God, okay, that was just a hot mess, okay. But what happened was when the captain was talking to the officer that had the other guys in custody, he made reference to a book called Arsène Lupin. Arsène Lupin, that's just how you say it. And it was a story of about a necklace. I guess it was about a heist of some sort. And of course the captain was like, he didn't want to hear that. He was like, just get the guys into custody and get the necklace to forensics. So that was something to that kind of stuck out. So there's another flashback. Okay, so Lupin, Arsène walks off, and next thing you know, you see him. He's waking up. He woke up, and this decked out, this laid ass apartment. Like, wait a minute, this does not compute. Okay, how do you live here and you were working as a janitor at the Louvre, right? And then of course all is revealed, right? So he's having his morning coffee, his morning cup of joe, and there's a story that on the news, basically saying that there's this necklace that's going to be auctioned off next week, and how it was found. Now this is 2 weeks earlier, so let me do that. So he wakes up. It goes back 2 weeks when he wakes up in his apartment, and he saw the story about the necklace being auctioned off, and it was saying that the necklace was found a week ago, and it's now being auctioned off by the owners, the Pellegrinis. So that's why the wife looked like shit and she looked guilty, because they had that necklace the whole time. I guess they needed, his business may have been having some financial issues, and I'm pretty sure a necklace like that is insured. And so basically his father was the scapegoat, and his father ends up hanging himself because he's about to go to jail for a crime he didn't commit. So now it's being 25 years later, it's being auctioned off. And so you see him going through, you saw him going to apply for the job as a janitor. And then you see him going to the guys, the thugs, to borrow the money. And he had to show them ID, and his ID said his name is Louise Pretty? I don't know. And so, but anyway, you see him borrowing the money. And then the next thing you see is him going to a friend of his, and his friend handing him a necklace that looked quite identical to the necklace he was trying to steal. And then you see what actually happened. When Arsène had the necklace in his hand when he was at the Louvre, what he did was he swapped out the necklaces. So, the necklace that he slid across the floor was the fake. He had actually tossed the real necklace in the trash can next to them. Obviously the other guys didn't even notice that they were holding a fake necklace. And so what happened was, the next day he went to work as usual in his uniform, in his overalls, and he went on into the trash and got the necklace. And as he was leaving, before you can leave, the security has to check everything. Everything has to be checked, even the trash that's going out. And so he goes through the process of handing them the trash bag, but he made sure to have some nasty diapers and some disgusting, smelly crap in there that he knew they wouldn't dig through. And so they ended up giving him the bag to toss into one of the dumpsters. And so he was able to just go on and dig in there and get the damn necklace. Okay, so you would think that would be the end of it, dude. So you see him, he's walking down, he feels, on top of the world at this point, right? He got his booty. He was able to get away with his booty. So we go to the police station, and the officer who was talking about the books, they started asking questions about a guy named Paul Serum. Maybe that was Paul Serum. And so the officer actually had books on his desk, and one was of the Arsène Lupin stories he was talking about. And so he realized that when Paul Serum, and we looked at Arsène Lupin, it was like what do you call it? I don't say, is it an anagram or something, where it was an anagram of Arsène. So now he's realized that he's on to something, right? And so we flash to Claire. So now he still has a date, he has a meeting to meet with his son at 8 o'clock, so he can spend time with his son. So he arrives, he's decked out in his little tailored suit, and he walks off, they go out and hang out. And so they're talking and, laughing, which is good, that's good to see. And then he was like, you know what, for that, it was something about his cell phone. And he said, for that, I don't even want to give you the gift I want to give you. And so he's like, what gift? And so he ends up giving him the book that his father gave him. And the book that his father gave him, it was the book that Mrs. Pellegrini told him he could just take whatever book he wanted. He took that book and he wrapped it up as a gift for his son. And of course, his son didn't find the gift, I believe, until after he had passed away. And so he kept that book all these years, and he is now passing it on to his son. So, Mr. Arsène, Mr. Arsène, Mr. Paul Serini, what's the other name? Mr. Louis Preeny, whatever the hell your name is, whatever his name is, it's a hot mess. He is a hot ass mess. But it was entertaining. It was fun. I think there are like 5 more episodes. But you know what? I'm going to end this here, and I will talk to you guys later.